Well, that was a rush. Hello, darlings, and a very warm welcome to Tuesday Night Live with me, the Reverend Jason Stafford Parry Hughes. But hey, you can call me Bertie. Bertie. Hi, darlings. I am, oh dear God, mad night at the restaurant. Home really late. I got home at 57 minutes. Well, I actually walked in the door at 58 minutes past 10. So I've been in the house for 5 minutes now. I'm all flustered. I'm all behind like a cow's tail. The kitchen is chaos. This bit's all right. That bit, just chaos. But then that's what happens when you stay up until absolutely insane o'clock, drinking with your mates, have a bit of an old sleep in, and then come downstairs and tuck into the old sausage and bacon sandwiches. And what did we have for lunch? Oh, a nice Momo lunch. How has your day been, darlings? Tell me all about it. I want to know how your day's been, how you're feeling, what you've been eating, anything like that. Oh, and I should give out some thanks, shouldn't I? I should be thankful, and I jolly well am thankful. I would like to thank my two warm-up acts this evening, the venerable Captain Mustard and the delectable M11 and Mistress Mary Huff. I've got no idea. Restaurant was manic. I've just got in. I've got no idea what their live streams were like, but no doubt Mustard's was his normal level of excellence, and I'm sure that the fabulous M11 will have debuted on her own channel, aided and abetted, of course, by her absolutely lovely sister, and I'm sure it will have been nothing less than a stonking success. And I hope you all enjoyed it. And before I forget, I also need to thank Neil and Sophie for their wonderful company over the last however long it's been. 24 hours, 36 hours. Oh, I don't know. I lost track. But we've had a fabulous time. I really enjoyed their company. Thanks to them for coming up and for making Stigbert von Thundercock sound amazing with his new stainless steel exhaust system. And thank you to my dearest chum, Captain Mustard, for hosting us in his fabulous derelict car yard on the frozen northern wastes of the foothills of the Pennines, and for allowing us to buy him some chips to go with his homemade curry. It was nothing less than an honour and a privilege, and I am unanimous in that. Now then, enough of me whiffling and waffling. It's time to get on to the bones of the doings, the thing that makes these live streams what they are, vaguely tolerable. And that's you wonderful people, with your amazing senses of humor, your bon mot, your juste mot, and yeah, that is your actual French. And I know I'm having a really bad hair day. I can't help it, darlings. I can't help it. I was all a bit behind today. I jumped out of the shower. I shampooed my hair, but I didn't condition it. And I didn't put in any styling mousse, darlings. No, I didn't. This is me, natural, windswept and interesting. And if you think this is bad, you ought to see my pubes. Now then, Jimmy Quinn is the first cab off the rank. And he says, good evening, Boaty and all. Peter P is with us. Evening, Boaty and all. Matron is here and says, woo, woo. Hello. Hope you enjoyed Emma's live stream. Well, no, I didn't, Matron, because I didn't watch it. It's on her channel if you want to catch up later or tomorrow. Well, thank you, Matron. I do kind of know how live streams work, so I knew it would be on her channel. But thank you for the reminder, just in case I forgot who she was or what her channel was called or anything like that. I will thankfully wave my virtual willy in your direction. Oh, hello, Two String is here. Good evening, Two String. Andrew, I can't believe it's not Boaty is right in our midst, darlings. And he says, a very good evening, Boaty. That's me. And everyone, that's you, who hasn't been in any other live tonight. Oh, God, is there anybody who hasn't been in another live tonight? Darlings, I'm going to have a slurp of wine, otherwise known as the hair of the dog, because I was, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, but neither am I proud, fairly catastrophically drunk last night. And then it... oh, I need this. Oh, that is nothing less than a joy. Oh, lovely. Hello there, says Barry Scrotter. Hello to you, and see how you like it, my dear friend. Simone is here, hooked on classics, and says, minute late. That's right, Simone, we forgive you. We're just glad that you're here, my lovely. Bad Books is here and says, good evening all. Neil Gibbons, aka the Gibbon hater. He named himself after his own hatred for primates generally, but the gibbon in particular. And he says, hello all, how are we tonight? Andrew says, Trace, has Emma set the live to private? And the M11 replied to that and then thought better of the reply and retracted it. And I didn't see what that reply was before it was retracted. So I'm going to guess at what her reply was. I imagine that she would have said a suffusion of wagon wheels, a suffusion of yellow, and up yours, I would imagine. And I don't blame her for retracting that because it's insulting and it makes no sense. And quite frankly, M11, what were you thinking? Now then. Hello, everybody, says the M11. Hope everybody is fine and indeed dandy. And good evening, Boaty. My God, have I missed you, you delicious chunk of lickable sausage meat. My God, it gets more elaborate and flattering each week, doesn't it? Well, each night, never mind each week. Oh, look at me. What a hunk of sausage meat I really am. Slightly bursting out of the skin, it must be said. But that's because you didn't prick me with a fork. Prick with a fork. Read the packaging. Read the small print. It's your own fault. Oh, Neil says, hey, Emma and Trace. Sorry we missed your live. We couldn't be asked to watch it. Completely understandable. Busy night at the restaurant then, says Andrew. Oh, mad busy. Mad busy. We had a party of 20, a party of 16, a party of 6, a party of 8, a brand new manager who's come from Nepal via Japan and whose name I've already forgotten. I've said it before and I will say it again. When live broadcasting and drinking wine simultaneously and at the same time, there are going to be catastrophic wine burps. I can only apologize. Oh, talking about catastrophes, what about that? That must have been a hell of a bout of turbulence. Yeah, there's a Singapore Airways flight from Heathrow to Singapore encountered turbulence so severe that one British gentleman died and many more are critically injured and in hospital in Thailand, where the flight was diverted to. So, yeah, that's a thing, isn't it? Dear me indeed. So, feature number one, have you ever been, well, actually, let's widen it out because Neil and I were talking about this earlier today. I am going to sneeze. It's going to happen. See, I told you, I can always tell these things. It's like I have a premonition, a sixth sense, or indeed a seventh sense, or to give Neil's number its rightful due, a ninth sense. I just knew it was going to happen and I prepared for it. Even as I was telling you, you might have noticed action with my right arm, and that action was reaching into my hand, into my pocket for my handkerchief, or into my hand for my pocket kerchief, if you prefer. You know, other kerchiefs are available, quite honestly. So, feature number one, flying. Are you scared of flying? Is flying a pleasure and a joy? Or is it just a boring chore that you have to endure to get somewhere a bit warmer? Or do we have any pilots amongst us, or any wannabe pilots, or any has-been pilots, or anything like that? I used to be a pilot of sorts. I had my non-powered license, gliding license, in other words, but I have flown, as we were discussing earlier, and as quite a lot of you know anyway, I have flown powered flights under instruction, including a fully loaded Boeing 737 on more than one occasion over the Mediterranean from Cyprus to the UK. But what about you lot? How do you feel about flying? And have you ever flown yourself? Have you ever actually been at the controls of a hairy plane? Or maybe you've been on a sim, maybe you've been on a simulator, or maybe you've got model air. I mean, I don't know, go where you like with it. I can't be responsible for everything. It was a funny show, Emma says, Jimmy Quinn. Oh, well, that's good to know. And Simone has spent the day editing. So that means we can expect a video from our Simone then. Oh, Mark on Motoring is joining us. That's lovely. Good evening, everyone, says Mark. Just been watching the lunch video. My tenuous claim to fame is that I've sat on the same bench. I sat on the same bench seat as Steve Ferry. You certainly have, Mark. Mark is, of course, referring to a series of videos called Mustard and Boaty Do Lunch With, where we have lunch in the caravan or possibly elsewhere with people who are already more famous and better known than us, or who we think will be more famous and better known than us. And that's going to be an ongoing series, darlings. It's not come to an end, not by any means. So who have we ticked off the list so far? We started Mustard About to Do Lunch With on January the 2nd of this year, I think. And we launched with Mustard About to Do Lunch With James Martin of JM on Cars. So he was our first. And since then, we've done... who have we done? Well, we've done Mark on Motoring, of course, and he, oh God, he, oh, this is going to sound awful, but he was so much funnier than I expected. Because I didn't know Mark very well at all. In fact, I think we'd only met once. I've seen his videos, of course, but you know, they are factual, interesting, very well presented and very well produced. I didn't realize he was going to have an absolutely cracking sense of humor. And he's the only person I've seen make Mustard lose the plot when Mustard accused him of looking like Mr. Tickle. So he turned on him and tickled him until the tears ran down his trouser legs. One of the funniest moments that we've ever had in that caravan. Who else have we done? Well, we did Allegro Man. And that was absolutely hilarious because Allegro Man, who I love to bits, as does Mustard, as do, I think, all of you. But he's not quite on the same page humour-wise as me and Mustard when we go a bit mad. And he spent a large portion of the lunch video just looking somewhat bewildered and appalled. And he has said to me since that he's been contacted by quite a few people who said, what the bloody hell were you doing, wasting your time sitting there eating lousy chips with those two lunatics? Who else did we do? We did Tom Drives, didn't we? And of course, the video that Mark is talking about is the most recent, where we did lunch with motoring journalist and I would argue legend Steve Berry, who hosted Top Gear for 5 years with Jeremy Clarkson, and has done a whole host of other things. He was the mainstay behind the Top Gear radio show. He was the mainstay between all of the Top Gear specials. Before Clarkson, Hammond and May just started doing a different kind of specials. He did all the spin-offs. He's got several radio shows on the go at the moment, including the pinnacle of radio broadcasting, BBC Radio Wales. He writes a column for the Sunday Times. He's the go-to motoring consultant for the BBC. He's on Jeremy Vile all the time. And what a top bloke. So there will be more Mustard and Boaties do lunch with. My people have reached out to Clarkson and May's people. And I'm hoping to have Steve Berry back at least once, if not twice or three times, because there's a lot more material in him that's yet to come out. And and off camera, he can be hideously indiscreet, and I'd quite like to get some of that on camera. But there we are. You have indeed shared that seat, Mark, and I hope you enjoyed the video. This cold timing is getting bad, says Jimmy F500. Where will it end? Well, you'll be naked and penniless, I imagine. That's the way it normally goes. I like the wild and crazy hair, Boaty, says the M11. I realise I'm in the minority there. Your hair is looking rather good tonight, Boaty, says Matron. Well, how very kind. I agree, says the M11. Well, this is most flattering. Trisha Alderman, who I, quite frankly, adore, along with her other half. And they were kind enough to send me a most fabulous corkscrew, which has got me out of several holes, if you'll forgive the expression. So I'm eternally grateful to them for that. Anyway, good evening to you both. I spent most of my day video editing as well, says Mark. Only done about a minute of video as I wasn't happy and had to keep tweaking things. Stockholm Syndrome, Jimmy F500 is suggesting, is what you're all stuck in. Boaty, says Andrew, what would you do if you were stuck on a desert island for 3 years? Well, I'd try and stay alive. And that would be it. I mean, what else could I do? I'd try and stay alive. I'd probably crack a few off. Yeah, crack a few off and try and stay alive. And try and learn how to distill vodka from whatever there was on the island. God, 3 years without a drink. Imagine that. Bloody hell. That would be awful. Oh, I wouldn't enjoy that at all. I wouldn't enjoy that at all now, further. I suppose if there were animals on the desert island, I might dabble with bestiality. Because, I mean, let's face it, after 3 years, I mean, you would, wouldn't you? Welcome, Boaty's Maiden Wineburb. That's exceedingly kind of you. Oh, he's telling me off for something I didn't say, says the M11, but I quite like it. Tricky chaps, burp, says Peter P. They are indeed. Welcome to the early Welch, says Andrew. Oh, pretty nasty, that incident on the plane. That must have been a hell of a bout of turbulence. I mean, how do you guys deal with turbulence? It's never really concerned me, to be honest. Partly because I suppose I understand it, having having flown myself. But also, my rule of thumb, and if you don't understand how aircraft work or something like that, or you're a nervous flyer, my recommendation is this: be guided by the stews, be guided by the air hostesses or stewardesses, call them what you want. Right? Now, if they are still wandering around the plane, everything's fine. Don't worry. If they're sitting with their lap belt on, seatbelt on, and they're chatting to each other casually, looking at their phone, doing something, everything is fine. If they're going, oh my God, and their breasts are wobbling all over the place, it might be worth having a little panic. But otherwise, everything's fine. Don't let a bit of turbulence freak you out. But I mean, obviously, that turbulence today sounds pretty horrendous. Now, the chap who died was apparently a 73-year-old British guy, and they're working on the assumption that he's had a heart attack or heart failure, cardiac arrest due to the stress or whatnot. But I'm interested as to what the other critical injuries were. Now, not everybody, as I understand it, not everybody in the flight was injured. So I imagine that they hit a really bad bout of turbulence. One guy has just said, "Oh, for fuck's sake," and that's that. But the other injuries, I can only imagine that people were sitting without their belts on, and they've been decanted from their seats and shaken about the fuselage a bit. So, my advice to you would be, if that fasten seatbelt sign comes on, fasten your bleeding seatbelts. Don't be that one who says, oh, no, it'll be fine. They just do that put your seatbelt on. What are you going to do? You're not going to go out and practice the long jump or anything, are you? Put your bloody seatbelt on. They're there for your safety. And if you break your leg so badly that you can't walk, then don't come running to me if that happens to you. So, yeah, seatbelt on. And, listen to the safety briefings as well. I always liked that. Was it Eddie Izzard's idea? I think it was Eddie Izzard, because he always said that, nobody listens to the safety briefing. They're reading the crappy magazine. They're doing whatever, yada, yada, yada. Heard it all before. And you can't be seen to listen to the safety briefing because you're going to look like somebody who's never flown before. You have to be cool and say, oh, I don't need to listen to this. And he was saying that if he was the pilot, and I approve of this, I would do the same thing. Or if he was the steward or stewardess, the stew, giving the safety briefing, I'd throw in a couple of extras like, please do listen to today's safety briefing. And I really mean that. Please do listen to it, because I've got a really bad feeling about this flight. The pilot had a bad night last night. He's not looking too clever. I've seen him writing some sort of note to his family and friends. So just, pay really close attention, because today of all days, I think this is when you might need to know what to do. I would do that just for shits and giggles. I would find it very amusing. I reckon the turbulence was Boaty's flatulence, says Neil, who is being somewhat disingenuous there, because I've spent 36 hours in Neil's company. Now, I will give Neil credit. In all of the time that we have recently spent together, I did not hear him break wind once. Not once. So credit to him for that. But I'm also going to blow my own trumpet, because in all the time that Neil was in my company, I did not break wind once. Not once, darlings. Sophie, on the other hand, and I hope I'm not being too indiscreet, broke wind 3,794 times. And I lost count of the cider burps. I mean, she was sitting after lunch just outside my neighbour's front parlour's window. And some of the belches that she let fly actually rattled the window panes. The neighbour looked out to see what on earth was going on. She thought that some sort of tropical storm had arrived that she hadn't been notified about. I used to love flying in the ATC, says Mark. Powered and motor gliders. It's cool, isn't it? It's so cool. I don't and won't fly, says Matron. I prefer to stay on Earth. Boring snoring. I've always loved aircraft, says Andrew. I wanted to join the Air Force when I was young and haven't been up since 1985. Oh, time you got your ass up there again. I love flying, says Neil, but worry beforehand, hence why I won't get up for a pee when the plane's in the air. Dear, well, when we go to Malta, mate, I'm not sitting next to you. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to sit next to you while a steaming, a wet patch spreads on your jeans and steam starts emanating from your groin. Get up and have a pee. I mean, apart from anything else, if you won't get up and have a pee, that means that you won't get up and have a shag in the loo and join the Mile High Club. And I would recommend joining the Mile High Club. Lisa and I had some memorable moments in the nearest lavatory to the cockpit of various 737s. It was it became a bit of an in-joke, all because, of course, we were in the cockpit, and all of the crew knew exactly what we were doing, no matter how casual we tried to make it. And I can honestly say that we didn't miss a flight. Every single flight that we took, we got it on, and every single train journey too. Many times, and in the long trains on France, oh God Almighty, we literally spent almost the entire journey from Cherbourg to I think it was Paris Gare du Nord. We spent most of that journey in the bog going at it. Bless her. And that was a particularly confined bog. We both did ourselves various injuries on that occasion. A dry, dehydrated Boaty, says Andrew. Yeah, there's nothing worse. Neil says, Boaty, sober on a desert island, sober as the day he was born, he would go stir crazy and be talking to a coconut that he's called mustard. And he would also use one of the holes for something. I probably would. I'd draw Mustard's face on a coconut with some plant material and tell him and argue with him about things that I didn't actually believe myself, that I just wanted to argue about. I wish I'd recorded it. We had a spectacular argument about car valeting on Monday. God, I enjoyed it. It was absolutely brilliant. And speaking of Mustard, he has just messaged me and said, Jesus. I'm not quite sure what that's supposed to mean. I mean, he might be proclaiming his own status as the Camp Damp Jesus. He might have suddenly realized that I am an emanatory from the Lord himself, or he could just be saying, I can't believe how bad this live stream is, but perhaps he's elaborated in comments and I haven't got to it yet. One of the questions I got tonight, says Matron, was, would I rather spend 6 hours trapped in a lift with Mustard or 3 years on a desert island with Boaty? Neil, aka the Gibbon hater, you'll have to watch. Well, I mean, it's obviously going to be 6 hours trapped in a lift with Mustard, isn't it? Because 6 hours is 6 hours and 3 years is 3 years. I'd much rather spend 6 hours trapped in a lift than 3 years on a desert island with anybody. Oh, unless it was like Claudia Winkleman or Pepsi, a peak Pepsi, or a 31-year-old Alanis Morissette. 3 years. Yeah. He would soon be Boaty the Gibbon lover, says Peter P. Oh, God, says Neil. I'll give it a watch after this. Trace, Andrew says, Neil, Trace was asked about being on an island with Boaty and Emma's live, and the answer was brilliant. I'm terrified of flatulence, says the M11. I love you, Mustard. I really do. I'm terrified of, not flatulence. I'm terrified of turbulence, says the M11. You might think if the staff are relaxed, everything is fine, but they are none the wiser. They might not be aware that something awful is about to happen. They would be, because the pilots would be, and they would have been briefed. Yes, I advised against 3 hours in a lift with Mustard with his flatulence, says the M11. And speaking of Mustard, here he is. Hello, chocolate penises. And his farts would probably cause turbulence on a plane too. Well, it's a good job it doesn't fly, isn't it? And it was 6 hours in the lift, says Matron. Okay, but 3 would be bad enough, says the M11. You farted on air last night, Boaty. We all heard it. I did not. That was Sophie. I would never do that. I would never even dream of doing that. You lies, Boaty, says Matron. You farted so loud last night, we thought the ceiling was coming down. That was Sophie. I would never do that. It reverberated around the world, says Andrew. Well, Sophie's like that. I'm calling bullshit on that, says Neil. He was stretching and let a ripper off at 8 a.m. last night. Damn near blew the door off its hinges. I really don't think so. I really don't think so. Neil, says Mustard, you always go on about my massive tool, but you left yours in my car. Mr. Stephen Parry from Port Sunlight in the Wirral, the Leisure Peninsula, says, hi, Jason. How has your day been? It's been great. Thank you for asking. How has yours been? Must have been better than my cousin. Oh, dear. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, Stephen, my dear chap, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm really sorry for your loss. And, oh, dear. And moving on to Mark on motoring, shut up, belt up, and if you can't see the bloody exit, you must be bloody blind. If you're posh, you can fly the Alan Bennett class on Yorkshire Airways. I know exactly what you're talking about, Mark on motoring. That was a Hale and Pace sketch, and one of my absolute favourites. You'll find it on YouTube or on Facebook or on somewhere if you want to have a look. Go A up and away with Yorkshire Airlines. We'll be flying where a bloody like, at whatever height a bloody like. It was a really good sketch. Hale and Pace definitely had their moments. They definitely had their moments, and that was definitely one of their better ones. Well done, Mark on motoring, for coming up with that one. Plain toilet, says the M11, stink of urine, or at least they do after I've been there. And it's squished and shaky. I wouldn't really want the gymnastics that would be involved in trying not to put your foot down the toilet or set the hand dryer off. Oh, okay. It's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth the risk and the sacrifice. That's what I say. Maybe it's Tom's massive tool then, says Mustard. Because Neil didn't bring anything. And then we're all sending our condolences to Mr. Stephen Parry for the loss of his cousin. The Big C claims yet another another victim, another one gone too soon, and the other half is in a hospice and in a palliative care situation. So condolences in advance for that one. May it be swift and merciful, and that's about the best that we can hope for, isn't it? In the midst of life, we are in death, or in my case, in debt. You didn't have a debate on car cleaning, says Neil. You went on a 3-hour rant about everything from polish to clay bars, and then called them all a steaming pile of shit, and then blamed car cleaning on Generation Z. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. And Mr. Stephen Paddy from Port Sunlight in the Wirral, the Leisure Peninsula, goes on to ask, were you and Sophie safe in your bedroom last night, Neil? Did Jason come sleepwalking in at night and get in the wrong bed or fall over somebody? I took the correct measures, mate, says Neil. Padlock on the door and a baseball bat at arm's reach, and we had a perfect night's sleep. We all had a perfect night's sleep, actually. We all slept really, really well. And we were in jolly good spirits this morning when we got up and I cooked those amazing, enormous sausages, which I have to tell you, they were so tasty. We could see that they were large sausages, and, who doesn't love a large sausage? But we weren't expecting them to taste as good as they did. They were fabulous. We cooked all four, and they were like this big, and we cooked all four of them, and a whole packet of bacon, and we scoffed the bloody lot with some Branston's rich and fruity sauce, and we had juice and tea and coffee, and it was a jolly good breakfast. Kept us going until the moment, and and we all want those sausages in our life again. In fact, Neil has kindly undertaken to set out to try and find some more and stick them in the freezer ready for the camping trip, because they would be amazing for the camping trip. It really was an excellent breakfast. I enjoyed that so much. Honestly, though, says Neil, he made us very welcome. And it was brilliant last night. We stayed up until 3 a.m. laughing and talking, and only went to bed when we were literally all falling asleep standing up. We are. It looked like Sticky had a pair of big dangly ones in Sophie's video, says Peter P. And your camera focuses on the flowers and makes your face blurry. Well done, iPhone. Yeah, well, that's to your benefit, isn't it? Apparently, the sausages are based on a local Rochdale man whose appendage was of equal length, hence why they're called the love sausage. And Mark says the focus is probably set to look sharp after wine. How do I get it to focus on me then? I don't know how to do any of these clever things. Look, I look like Tyson Fury, not avoiding being... Oh, yeah, boxing news, darlings. Bollocks. Boxing news. Tyson Fury has announced that he is triggering the rematch clause, which is expected to take place in some point in mid-October. So there we are. If they both live up to the contract, that will be Fury's next fight and Sasha's Usyk's next fight. So there we are. Will it be redemption or, well, I don't know, whatever they call it when it's a rematch? Repeat or redemption or repeat or revenge or something? Anyway, I don't mind. I don't mind a rematch. I would have, to be honest, I would have been happy to see Usyk walk away. If Fury hadn't triggered the rematch, then at the age of 37 and being a family man who's sacrificed so much time with his very young family, missed the birth of his most recent child due to the training camp for Fury, and having nothing left to prove, having done something that's only ever been done once before in the entire history of boxing, becoming undisputed two-weight world champion, undisputed cruiser, unified the cruiserweight division, moved up to heavyweight, unified the heavyweight decision. At this division, at this point, honestly, if Fury didn't activate the rematch, I would have been happy for him to have retired, walked into the sunset, and lived out his life, supported his country, and enjoyed his family, and it would have been bloody well earned. Nothing left to prove for that man. But the rematch, he's got to do that for male pride, and not least, he's going to earn what, 65, 70 million pounds for that fight. So he'd be crazy not to take that. So I hope he takes it. I hope the money means that he and generations of his family to come will be secure and safe and happy. And I hope he beats the living daylights out of Tyson Fury again. And then I hope he walks off into the sunset. I don't think there's all that much appetite for the rematch, to be honest, because I don't think anybody, with the possible exception of the Fury camp, thinks that the rematch will go any other way. As Brian True Geordie, the Pain Game YouTube channel put it, that it's decided now. We know who the best of this generation is. So let's have the fight that we all want to see and we've all wanted to see for years, Fury versus AJ, and let's see who the best of the rest is. And to be honest, I thought that was a fight that Fury would take. It's going to be worth 3 or 4 times more to him than the Usyk fight. The Usyk fight will no longer be for undisputed because he will be stripped of the, is it the WBA he's going to be stripped of? And I didn't think Fury would fancy being beaten up again and, slightly humiliated. When you do all of the showboating, the arms down and the bobbing and the weaving, that looks cool when you win. But then when you get slapped around like a fucking idiot and you can't stand on your own 2 legs, and the only reason you survived is that your team paid off 3 of the officials, i.e. the referee, the timer, and 1 of the judges, then it's not such a good look, really, is it? But hey ho. Was it as good or better than a premiere in freebie? We discussed this. We did discuss this. Now, it was better. I've only had 1 free premiere in, and it was crap. And I mean crap. And I don't just mean crap as in that's not the best breakfast I ever had. I mean crap as in I didn't eat 2/3 of it. I just left it. So it was definitely better than that. It was better than it was better than the Travelodge free breakfast as well. It was a really good breakfast sandwich. It was spot on. You need better lighting on your face if you want the camera to focus on you and not the current brightest thing in the room. Oh, I don't give a shit, Trace, to be honest. I'm perfectly happy being slightly blurred. And I think that you guys would be happier too. He needs the money, Fury does, says Andrew. Does he, arse? Fury is rich beyond Croesus. The last thing he needs is the money. My God. The money that guy's got. I mean, that's the one thing that you can't accuse Fury of doing it for. He's not doing it for the money. He doesn't need the money. Fury is doing it out of fear, if you want my opinion, because Fury's tried to retire many times and he can't do it. And Fury is fighting because he is scared of what will happen if he doesn't fight. And historically, what has happened when he doesn't fight, or to be more accurate, when he doesn't train, is he goes totally off the rails. He goes back to drink and drugs and he becomes suicidal. He has no reason to live in his mind, which is sad because he's got 7 children and a beautiful wife. And if your own family do not give you reason in your own mind to stay alive, that's a pretty sad state of affairs, isn't it? But hey ho. And that's not judging the guy. Honestly, I feel sorry for Tyson Fury. He might have all the money in the world, and you might say, well, yeah, money doesn't buy you happiness, but would you rather be miserable in a Bentley or a Ford Fiesta? But honestly, I wouldn't swap places with Tyson Fury. I wouldn't want that chaos going on in my head. I fought my whole life never to get to that kind of situation where I was out of control of my own life. And believe me, all of the zeros on the end of your bank account in the world don't make it worthwhile when you're driving at 120 miles an hour and you just tell yourself that you're going to drive into the motorway bridge because you can't cope with another hour of your life. So, yeah, massive sympathies genuine sympathies go out to Tyson Fury. And I do worry about how he's feeling right now, how he's dealing with the loss emotionally and in mental health terms, because it can't be easy. I'm hoping that it will be a positive for him. Now, famously, when he won the unified World Heavyweight Championship by beating Vladimir Klitschko, then he went off the rails because he said, well, I've done it now. So what else is there to do? What else is there to live for? So maybe losing for the first time in his life as a professional, maybe losing will actually have the opposite effect. Maybe it will kick him in the head for a little while because, how big his ego is, we don't know. How much of him is bluster, how much of him believes what he says for the cameras, we don't know. But it's going to be a kick in the ego for him, whichever way you look at it. And maybe, and for his sake, I hope so, then actually taking that first L, that first loss, will kick in the fight or flight reflex, and he'll say, fuck that. I'm not having this. I will come back harder. And he will train properly. He'll get the idiots, most of all his father, out of his corner, out of his entourage. He'll train properly. And when he goes in, he fights like a gentleman. None of the prattling about, none of the playing to the crowd. He goes in there and he does a professional, athletic, sportsman-like job of work. And I would like to see him do that, and it would be good for him. And he'll still lose. Usyk will still beat him. But there we are. There we are. There we are. Where did I get to? Here we are. Balls to all of this overpaid bollocks, says Captain Mustard. Fury versus MJ. Oh, God. Fury gets beaten off. I have at least 2 Premier instays, says Matron, and therefore breakfast, coming up in the next 10 weeks. You have my sympathy. Take sandwiches. Fury's manager was on TalkSport today, says Caddy Sparks, saying that Fury is bipolar. Yeah, I watched that. It's not Fury's manager, it's his promoter. Different people. It was Frank Warren, of course, who was on Talksport today, and he was trying to excuse Tyson Fury's the things that he said and so on by doing the bipolar bit. And, you know, he's half got a point, but, you know, sometimes you can't defend the indefensible. And the point made was a very good one. It's all very well for Frank Warren, who I like, by the way, excellent promoter, nice chap. It's all very well for Frank Warren to go on now and wave the mental health card and say, well, you've never talked about this. You've said he said this, he said that, but you've never mentioned the bipolar bit. And quite rightly, what's his name, the Talksport guy, said, if I'd have done that, if I'd have written an 800-word article about Tyson Fury being bipolar, you would have sued me. And that's absolutely true. You know, would bipolar have been mentioned if Fury had won? No, absolutely not. And so Frank Warren banging on saying, go on the NHS website and look at the symptoms of bipolar disorder. As your Talksport man, is it Simon? I think it's Simon, said, quite rightly said, that's bollocks. It was disingenuous bollocks. It was playing a card at a time where it shouldn't really have been played. You know, they, as a team and as a man, they need to take it like men. They got beaten. It happens. All of the greatest have been beaten. And it's not about how badly you get beat. It's about how well you get up and respond to it. And as I said the other night, Lennox Lewis, who has got a strong argument for being the greatest of all time, he was beaten, but he had no unrevenged losses. Every fighter that he lost to, he subsequently refought and beat. And Fury can do the same. Ali lost. And I don't mean he lost when he was a dribbling old wreck on the verge of having Parkinson's. Muhammad Ali lost in his prime. Don't ever forget that. Don't ever forget Ali Frazier won, the first of the trilogy. Frazier beat him, and he beat him well, very well. And Ali came back. So there's no shame in losing. And if Fury came back and won convincingly, Fury would then automatically, effectively, be the greatest fighter of his generation, which is what he's always claimed to be. And he's got every chance to do that. He wasn't entirely humiliated in the fight. Obviously, round 9 was pretty cataclysmic, but to give Fury credit, he came back from it in 10, 11, 12, and arguably he won round 12. Now, the caveat to that is that if the fight had been fair and if certain people hadn't been paid, Fury would never have made it to round 10. So he wouldn't have made it past round 9. If you haven't seen the fight, or even if you have seen it and didn't notice, then a couple of things happened in round 9 as Fury was being knocked out. And he was out on his feet, 100% out on his feet. If you watch it carefully, then Fury never hit the canvas. He was against the ropes. And Usyk had at least 2 more shots lined up. The fist was back. He had 2 or 3 more shots lined up, which would have finished Fury beyond any reasonable doubt. The referee actually caught his arm and prevented him from throwing that last blow and that last flurry. The referee then gave a standing count when he had no right to do so. The count was slow. At the end of the count, then the referee wasted some more time checking that Fury was okay to go on. And then the end of round bell was sounded earlier than it should have been. And credit where credit's due, Fury's got incredible recuperative powers, and was, back to relative normality in round 10. And having effectively won the fight, Usyk didn't go to war again in 10, 11, 12. He played it safe because, when you've got what in any right-minded judge would have been a commanding lead on the scorecards, you're not going to go out and you're not going to take any chances. Of course you're not. But the other thing I would worry about Fury, who's got mental health issues anyway, and who is, according to his own promoter, very bipolar, according to the TalkSport interview today, we know that these things are cumulative and they're time lapsed. Look at how long it was before Muhammad Ali was affected. I could name hundreds of other fighters who've been, their lives have been blighted as a delayed reaction after all of the repeated shots to the head. Look at the punishment that Fury's taken. Now, yeah, he's an incredible human being. He's got incredible powers of recuperation. But what about the long term? How many more fights does he want to take where he's getting smacked around like that, where he's getting knocked down like he did by Wilder, like when he's getting knocked down like he was by Ngannou, and when he's getting, and the most damaging of all was Usyk, believe me, and this is from a neurological and medical point of view. All of those other people, Wilder, Ngannou, single shots, because that's all they were capable of throwing. Usyk is a different animal. Watch round 9. They were repeated shots, left, right, one way, the other way. The trauma that will have upon the cerebellum, upon the brain, that's being rattled within the skull from one side to the other side, left, right, that is serious, and that could have the most serious long-term ramifications. And honestly, how much longer, when you've got all the money in the world, how many more risks do you want to take about the long-term effects of that? I mean, and if you want to see the difference, look at Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali when they were both at the age of, in their early 50s, or even in their early 60s. Frazier was a dynamic, clever, witty, handsome man, living his own life on his own terms. Ali was a doddering, shuddering wreck. He couldn't walk, he couldn't talk. Now, honestly, was it worth it? Was it worth it? Was it worth it for that to be the last 20 or 30 years of your life? Can't be, can it? And I worry about Fury's future. Father of however many children it is. But there we are. Oh, no, says Matron, it's 3 Premier Instays. Woo. And darlings, it's midnight. Start saying good nights, because God knows of all nights I need to bugger off, get something to eat, get a decent night's sleep. You lot must all be knackered as well. Oh, excuse me, hiccups. This must be the 3rd live stream for some of you. Dear God. Supper tonight, if you were wondering, is going to be staff curry with rice and roti, of course. And lunch tomorrow is going to be a cheeky one. It's going to be the old cheeky fry up. It's going to be sautéed potatoes, chipolata sausages, smoked back bacon, fried eggs, baked beans, and anything else I can think of throwing on there. Oh, I'm going to enjoy that. And I didn't get a chance to go shopping tonight. The restaurant's really busy, and that's what I've got in, and some of it kind of needs eating. So there we are. Means I get to have I'm looking forward to that. A cheeky Wednesday fry-up brunch. Wonderful. Mr. Stephen Paddy says Tyson Fury would have been knocked out at one time. If it hadn't been for the referee, and if they hadn't called time on the round, absolutely. Bipolar is close to my heart, a very difficult disorder, says the M11. Absolutely. Absolutely. Nobody's questioning that. Nobody's questioning that. It's just that the particular interview that Carrie mentioned was really disingenuous in that in the behavior that they wouldn't have tried to excuse had Fury won, they then tried to excuse down to bipolar because he lost. And that is, it's the disingenuous part that is irksome. Will you try for any free breakfast, Trace? Asked Andrew. Fury is worth by the Daily Mirror, says Jamie Quinn. The Daily Mirror said 300 million, but Forbes says Forbes say he only has 40 million. He's got more than 40 million. He's got a lot more than 40 million, Jimmy Quinn. He earned a lot more than 40 million for this one fight. I think Fury earned, what did Fury earn for this fight? It was a lot more than 40 million anyway. And I don't think at the point of taking this fight, he was skint. So the 300 million is going to be a lot closer to the mark. Oh, it depends on what you're talking about, says Matron, in terms of grabbing a freebie. Oh, that's right. We found out the other night, didn't you? She nicks pillows. And the M11 says she'll be grabbing some more pillows for a collection. Not sure I can get a duvet into my rucksack. But Matron does pay for her breakfast. It's only the bedding that she steals. Oh, well, that's fair enough, isn't it? I think it's bedtime for me, says Mark on Matron. Good night, all. Me too, mate. I'll be following you very shortly. Not to your bedroom. I'll be going to mine. Don't worry. I'm going to sleep now. Night, everyone, says Simone. Tarfano. Good night, my lovely. Thank you for joining us. Frank Wallen was shot a while ago, says Caddy Sparks. He was indeed. You don't get shot for nothing. Nothing but a gangster. Boxing is bent and run by mobsters. It's not run by mobsters so much now, but traditionally it always was. And it's most definitely bent and corrupt. But Chris Eubank had a good line on that. Eubank was very open about the corruption within boxing, and he still is very open. And he will tell you very openly that he won fights that he shouldn't have won, but he also lost fights that he shouldn't have lost. And, you know, he had a very down-to-earth view on it. And he said, look, if you think or if you know that the fight is bent, knock them out. Knock them out. There's nothing that they can do about that. They can, if you knock them clean out, then that's it. Argument over. End of days. Floyd Mayweather is the richest boxer, says Jimmy Quinn. 560 million. Yeah, that should keep him going, wouldn't it? Neil says, good night all. Hope you have a good night. Much love to you all. Night, everyone. And then Jimmy Quinn says the richest heavyweight is George Foreman, 222 million. Yeah, well, that's thanks to the George Formby grill, isn't it? I love George Foreman. The biggest hypocrite in boxing. And I love him for that. You watch his story. It's an amazing story. He found God. He came back. He realized the right path. It's all total bollocks. Ask anybody on the inside in the know. He remained the same guy. He remained a foul-mouthed, heavy-drinking bully. But he did such an amazing public persona job of the finding God thing that he was able to come up with the George Foreman grill and make more money than he ever did in the boxing ring. I did say George Formby grill. Yeah, I've always called it the George Formby grill. I did that on purpose. And on that note, darlings, that is it. Thank you for your company tonight. I hope you've enjoyed your night of entertainment with at least 3 live streams that I'm aware of. Thank you for enduring mine at the end of what must have been a bloody long night. Oh dear. I mean, Mustard droning on at you for endless hours about this, that, and the other. And then Matron and the M11 with what I can only imagine was pure and unmitigated filth, probably almost entirely of a sexual nature. So actually, maybe this pleasant hour with me, the Reverend Boaty, has come as a a nice light relief, and you're glad to see out Tuesday in a quiet, dignified, and God-fearing way, and welcome in Tuesday with peace and a complete lack of filth in your heart. And you're welcome. Oh dear. Right, that's it, darlings. Have yourselves a safe and peaceful night. Please, please, please take great care of yourselves and those that love you and who you love. Have the best day that you can tomorrow and grab joy from it anywhere and whenever you can. And so much love from me, it's untrue. Please join me again tomorrow night, Wednesday Night Live, same time, same place, 11 o'clock. And I can't wait to see you then. Pachoo, and of course, a George Formby turned out nice again. Bosh!